Mr. Rohan Medane. He's a senior counsel from Morningstar. Can we have a big round of applause for him joining on the stage? We have Medini Sourav Dutta. He's a regional lead, the HERSHEY Company, PA, United States. Can we have a big round of applause for him joining in the stage? We have Shariza, Umira, Puteri, Binti. She's a cybersecurity lead joining in. So can we have a big round of applause for her? And the moderator of the session, Iqbal Tauseef, Director Legal Affairs, TTEC. Can we have a big round of applause for the moderator to begin up with the conversation? So let's start and take it forward. Over to you, Iqbal.
Good morning, all. Thank you very much. It's a nice morning, and we are here to speak about the trending matters of digital data privacy and data security. Hi all, I am Iqbal Tauseef, Director Legal Affairs and Country Head for TTEC based out of India. I'm bringing experience of more BUKIT, yes, industry backgrounds like pharma, IT industries, ITES, manufacturing and financial services. Today, we are here to speak about the requirements and the nuances associated with data privacy and data security. Also, we are going to talk about differences, very thin line differences in both the concepts. With that said, I'll introduce you to the panel. We have Mr. Rohan from Morningstar. We have Mr. Medini Sourav from HERSHEY, and we have Shariza Umira. So with that said, I would like our panelists to introduce themselves in their own version. Over to you.
Good morning and good day to everyone. I'm Medini. I'm representing HERSHEY. So I have been serving in the legal arena for 15 years now. My experience ranges from pharmaceutical to manufacturing to IT, and now in the FMCG. Representing the sweet company HERSHEY, I will try to be as sweet as possible. We'd like to see the energy and vibes from every one of you. Feel free to chime in, step in whenever you want us to stop and respond to your concerns and queries. About my experience, I started as a litigation attorney in 2009. Then I moved to in-house back in India. Then I shifted my base to US for a couple of years, then to Canada, now in Malaysia for last a couple of years. So that's all about me. With that, I'm passing it on to Mr. Rohan.
Yeah, hi everyone, good morning. So before I begin my discussion, I just wanted to specifically state out here that the views presented are my own views and not the views of my organization which I represent or which I was associated prior to this. So as I said, I am Rohan Medane. I bring around 2 decades of experience in the legal arena. I have been into general corporate and commercial laws. I have been working on mostly general matters for legal into contracts, litigation, M&As, data privacy. I have advised stakeholders on all aspects of legal, including data privacy. So I think we are here to speak about the topic, and thanks Iqbal and Medini for the introduction on their part. I think we will just move forward with Shariza. Yeah, Shariza?
All right, I'm Shariza, Umira, Puteri, Binti, Kamarozzaman, and I'm the cybersecurity lead from previous organization. Just to let you guys know, I will embark my new journey as Section Head IT Security SOC Monitoring with Ion Credit, 2nd February 2024. And actually, I have 13 years experience, and it's actually multiple experience with IT. And now I pursue my career, my passionate career into the cybersecurity because it's very challenging. So in 13 years, I belong to infrastructure as an engineer, level 1. And then I'm going to cybersecurity, IT security, SOC, Security Operations Center on 2019. And now I'm on 2024 becoming the section head SOC monitoring for financial institution in Malaysia, Japanese company Ion Credit. Yep, that's all about me.
Thank you, Shariza. Thank you, and Medini. With that said, let us start with the discussions. And the first question which I would like to pose to the panel is, when we talk about data privacy and data security, can you let us know what kind of differences you see and what kind of dependency you see on each other, and what organizations should do in today's digital landscape?
Thanks, Iqbal. That's really interesting query. Before we get into the response, since it's a very interesting matter to be discussed, I would like to see, or I'd like to hear from every one of you who actually had sleepless night post 21st May 2018. That is the day when we got to hear about GDPR in Europe. Is there anyone who had sleepless night post that?
Definitely, Medini, organizations has worked towards that post 25th May 2018. It was a huge, shift and amendment to the infrastructures, IT infrastructures of the company. So, please.
All right. So coming back to your point, to know about fundamental difference between data privacy and data security, we need to go back to the time when the word privatus, the Latin word privatus stands for what we call privacy now. It meaning that keeping public information separate from what is personal. We are not allowed to mix public information and personal information. Now, to know the basic difference, data privacy is your right to get your personal information protected when it comes under the control of a company, entity, organization through legal means. In a way, it's your right. And the data security is the responsibility or the obligation of that company, entity, or the organization who takes a control, either temporary or permanent, over your personal information to protect such information from unauthorized use, be it from cyber attacks or the lovely people from the dark world. It's their responsibility to protect. So I think with that, Iqbal and Rohan, Shariza, we can add on the points from your end. Thank you.
Hey, thanks, Medini, for the insight on how the data privacy has evolved over time and shifted. Okay, so I just wanted to briefly touch upon the topic of data privacy versus data security. So there's a very thin line difference between what data privacy means in terms of how it is managed, how is it stored, how is it handled. It all speaks about the compliance part of the data privacy. And when you speak about data security, it speaks about how an organization per se handles the data internally in the organization from the external threats which it might have. And that topic might be more envisaged with by Shariza in her discussion with you guys. But yeah, as I told you, I mean, Medini and Iqbal, so data privacy and data security are both very interconnected, and I guess we should be more having more focus on how an organization should implement corrective measures to put practices in place for a data security, so that there are no breaches of security or privacy going forward.
Right. Rohan, with that said, that leads to my second question to the panel, Can you give me just few examples of the challenges faced by the organizations to meet the compliance of various regulations while they do the business and adhere to their business goals?
So I could say that currently the law is ever evolving on data privacy and other regulatory frameworks in legal arena, right? I mean, basically if you see, organizations struggle a lot in alignment of data privacy and regulations, as well as putting across robust security measures in the organization. So there's quite a struggle between the organization. So this struggle, I mean, this is basically an example where we have to, from the legal point of view, we have to maybe educate the stakeholders internally and tell how to put across the guidelines in the industry and put across a framework which will help cater across with the growing needs of the technology, right? And going forward, it will also help the industry to maybe push across the boundaries.
Right. That's what the major challenge we face in the organizations today. Your data privacy team do not align with your data security team when they take the business decision. For example, a salesperson go to the market and get the client, and he knows what kind of data privacy is asked by the client. But do you think there is an alignment with the data security team who can help out with building up that kind of infrastructure? So that is one of the challenge what I see in current scenario, that there is lack of coordination between data privacy departments or the requirement and data security team.
So the alignment basically, as you rightly mentioned, Iqbal, is an issue where the InfoSec team and the legal teams, so they both operate in a segregated manner. So there needs to be a proper alignment within the industry or within the companies. The team needs to educate their stakeholders. Legally, they have to put the frameworks in place so that the InfoSec team also, when they understand how the legal operates, in which region they operate. So basically, we mostly cater to global MNCs, or if you go by region, even though we operate locally in a region, there are certain laws which are applicable to you from the global perspective, right?
Right, right.
So Shariza can speak on the
what Rohan mentioning is more to the privacy, and actually it's related to the policy. If in the organization that we are referred to secure the data based on that guideline, based my experience before, if the data breach outside, it's because the users is not educated well, and the other thing is the lack of tools that are using, and the company also less invest for the security department. So what most of us going to digital transformation, even though in my new organization I will going to more digital transformation, right? So there is a lot of we need to invest huge amount for cybersecurity to secure the data. There is a lot of very good tools, and there is a lot of tools that we can use and combine together, and we've added of the automation, and we can secure all the data from outside. But it depends on the users also, to how they can control themselves to let the data is not breached to the outside of the world.
All right, thanks. Good point, Shariza. With that, I would also like to know what kind of technologies nowadays are prevailing to, secure your data. Are we just going with certain kind of software firewalls, or are we using AI technology as well? And what kind of role AIG does play here?
Actually, I will brief certain technology that we are using, and this is also using by others company, also organization. to secure all the data. Based on the data breach, for the first, we need to control the user's access. So for the user's access, normally there is a lot of tools outside that you can use it. So one of it might be you can use CyberArk to protect your user's access control, and also you need to have the policy to make sure that users follow the policy to give the access control to the other users, especially. And for SOC side, which is my career, we have a trade intelligence that called SIEM, QRadar, and also we also have what we call it, SOAR, which is, I'm not remember the full terms. And also inside for the endpoint protection, which is your laptop right now, which is you using from your company, there is a EDR, endpoint detection response, which is there is a multiple tools that we have in our in Malaysia right now. We have CrowdStrike, we have Trendmicro. So for the term of network security, we also have firewall, WAF, to protect from the cloud, from breach from the cloud environment. Yeah.
So with that said,
Yeah, I would like to speak particularly on one challenge which you just mentioned about alignment between the teams, right, in terms of data, or the legal team or the InfoSec team. So we have been working recently on a certain project, and it was apparently that there was a third-party app which was utilized by the organization, and it happened that there was a data of employees which was required to be included in the app or incorporated in the app. So as a legal team, we usually provide inputs on how the framework should go, what are the guidelines, and how it should work around in terms of, you can say, the processes, right, and all the stuff. But then the InfoSec team also has to look it from the aspect of how the app will help protect the employee data which has been collected, how it will be stored, and whether it will be transferred. Because when you cater to organizations, the data is supposedly to be transferred across jurisdictions, right? And it is quite evident that this data, when it is transferred, it has to be transferred as per the data privacy rules, and it should not be beyond that. So I mean, technically, the alignment between the teams has to be very interconnected, I think, and unfortunately, most of the times it doesn't happen the way it should happen. Yeah.
definitely, I agree with that, because when we are talking about AI technology, the chat GPT as of now, and kind of, feeding the data. So in India, we have just an example. In India, we have a culture, where we keep the baby names with the names of our ancestors or elder family members. So suppose when you want to keep a baby name with your mother's name, and you write into chat GPT, hey chat GPT, can you let me know what should be my baby name based on my mother's name? Then immediately chat GPT will ask you what is your mother's name, right? Then when you feed that name, you don't know where that name goes, what will happen with that, what kind of data privacy is maintained. So these are the nuances associated with unanswered questions. So we have to be very careful with that, And as Rohan spoke about transferring of data, which will lead to my next question to the panel. Can you let us know what kind of precautions or the organization should take when they do cross-border transfers of the data? What kind of concepts and aspects they should keep in mind while doing so to meet the local regulations of the respective countries?
Thanks, Iqbal. Just to chime in here, 3 basic points. Classification of your data, be it individual information, communication, or informative confidentiality. You need to segregate and classify your data in these 3 pillars. Without that, it's going to be a little difficult for your InfoSec team, for your ERC team, for your legal team, for your compliance team to contribute, because all four departments should go hand in hand when it comes to building the wall that can protect the information that is supposed to be protected in the eyes of law and the regulation. So while doing that, 5, or I would say 4 important points that every organization should keep in their agenda. First being, quality, data stewardship, connection between, protection and the compliance. And the last part of the wall that we maintain is data management. So if you are good enough or successfully navigating this, 4 tasks, I'm sure every organization would get the zeal that they are looking at to achieve while protecting their information.
Right, well said, Medini. These kind of precautions at internal level, organic level at the organization definitely should be addressed. But when it comes to, transferring of data cross-border between 2 different organizations, whether they are affiliates, whether they have a business relationship, or they are subsidiaries of each other. So would you want to?
Yeah, surely. I think when there is a data transfer, prior to a data transfer, what I would urge is that the stakeholders internally should be educated enough or should be trained enough on data privacy laws, or InfoSec training should be given to the team. It's basically very important that the team undergoes this training on a regular basis to know what are the laws applicable to the region and what are laws applicable to it from the global data privacy perspective. So there may be applicants of GDPR, CCPA to that extent. Once they are aware of these laws, they can then take a cognizance call as to when they are sharing the data across the borders, then they can take advice either from the legal team, or they can just work upon the trainings which they have undergone. I mean, just to give you a background to this, we had worked with many IT security teams where the data of organizations pertaining to not only employees but partners, or maybe the vendors for that extent, were supposed to be transferred from one jurisdiction to another jurisdiction. When you transfer the data, you need to know where the data is flowing. So I mean, it needs to be processed according to the laws of the prevalent country. I mean, if you're supposed to transfer data from, say, Singapore, the other country to which it is transferred should have the equal amount of, you can say, technical expertise to protect that data, right? I mean, that's a requirement under the law. And again, you have to see that the data transfer is being handled very properly by the companies or entities. There should be no data leakage. And these are some of the measures which you should take. And I think data transfer basically is very viable only when the team is very educated and trained on all the subjects. So.
All right, that one is from the legal side and from the regulation, right? But from the technical side, for the cybersecurity, actually when you transfer from other region to another region, we will restrict the traffic, okay? We will get the information from which partner that that we should transfer the data. Okay, I give example. I have this vendor to manage our organization, and all the data, our data is kept on with this vendor. But before that, they need to sign the form, of course, the NDR form, and the other thing, then we will restrict the traffic only to that vendor. And for the SOC side, we will monitor the traffic. So this is how we try to protect the data from breach from the networks and also from the organizations. So in terms of data protection, we also have another tools that we are using right now is data loss prevention, where the tools is very smart. We can set up, we can set the framework, which is where the data should go and where we should block the data. This is how the framework for cybersecurity side, when in terms of collaboration with the legal side. Yeah.
So
Have you faced any challenges in your past working with the organizations in terms of transfer of data or anything on that part?
Yes, because actually it's users' mindset. Because some of the partner, when the cybersecurity team is not formed yet, they actually transfer data like if they want to transfer, they just transfer. When I'm leading the team, right, I will block the data which is we need to protect. So actually it's depend on the mindset of the users, the customers, because they, sometimes they get angry with us. Why we didn't allow this to be transferred to customers, to the client. It's very headache to dealing with users actually, compared that with dealing with the tools. Is actually all the organization need to have awareness training, and they need to have every quarter to have a training to let the users know that their action can lead the consequences data breach. And actually I couldn't reveal what I faced before, but I have experience when the data already breached, and it's very hard for us to secure back the data.
Yeah, I agree with you, Shariza. I think when data unfortunately should not be breached, I guess that's the foremost perspective which an organization actually wants, that there shouldn't be no data breach as such. Unfortunately, if there is a data breach, I guess one should always keep in mind that they should reach out to the InfoSec team predominantly, and then to the management if or the legal team or compliance team if there is any. I mean, that's the way you should look at a data breach if there is any breach. Right.
I think Rohan, speaking about the breach, reminds me of a very powerful statement coming from an industry expert. The question was, is it difficult to control data breach or the controlling the human mind?
Actually, both is very hard for us actually. To control the data breach, because you need to understand, not every tool is smart enough. And then the cyber attack, actually they every time will be evolve, will be smart and smart. So the hackers know the weaknesses of certain company, certain environment, which is when it goes to the cloud, it's not easy to control all the data, all the traffic. For us, is we need to combine multiple tools to ensure that there is no leakage of the data. But to combine all the tools, we need to study and to analyze when there is a breach happen. Actually, something like the small data has been transferred outside. So it's something that every time need to do a proper analysis with our team, and also with the legal team, compliance, audit, and also with data governance team, where we combine together and sitting and work together how to make sure that the data will not breach outside. So there is actually it's very lot of work, but it's actually help companies to ensure that all the asset, very important data will be secured in the organization.
Definitely, we need to maintain that kind of infrastructure which, give you the alarm when there is a data breach. If I want to keep my door open of my home, and if somebody breaches, how should I know? Then I need to put a bell in between. If somebody gets in, the bell will, chime in. So that's how the organization should have, their controls. If there is any leakage or breach into the data, then the infrastructure should be ready to give the notification. So there is a timely action taken. And when it comes to the point what we were talking about, data transfer, especially the cross-border transfer, so organizations should keep in mind that, you have a robust policies for the transfers between both the countries. And you need to have a very, very, very efficient and strong agreements between both the entities. Data privacy agreements, how it will be managed, and you need to have a provisions that, reflects the compliance with the respective regulatory requirements of that different countries into that agreement. So these two things are add-ons apart from the kind of, maintaining the infrastructure while you transfer the data across the countries.
Rightly said, Iqbal. Apart from the infrastructure, along with the robust policy, I would add a very important aspect to when it comes to protection of data or transfer of data is ownership. Without that, even if you try to build the strongest firewall, strongest protection in the technological term, your data will not be protected unless the people who are managing your data have the ownership towards the data that they are playing with or they are maintaining. As they rightly said, the critically engineered technology in the world is human mind. And again, coming back to my original query, it is always difficult to control the human mind, not the technology. Technology comes from the critically engineered technical part is the human mind. Over to you. Thank you.
So moving to the next question, which is very basic but very significant when you think logically. So I would like to ask the panelists, what is more important? Is it data privacy or data security? Can there be data privacy without the security?
Very interesting and very funny query. It has a fun fact. Sorry to say funny query, but fun fact. It's like you are having a plate of, you are carrying a plate, trying to have dinner, but no food. So what I'm trying to say here, you can have security, but you cannot have privacy without that security. So security is the prerequisite of data privacy. To maintain the data privacy, you must have the security. Over to you.
Rohan, you want to add?
So no, as I said in my first context, I think both are interdependent, right? Both are interconnected and both are required. So data privacy is all about how do you handle the data, how do you manage the data, and how do you store, and it's all about the whole life cycle of the data, right? And security aspects technically tackles with how there are robust security measures in place to tackle with any kind of malwares in the system. So basically, each of them are interrelated, and a data security breach can be based on data privacy leakage, right? So yeah.
Definitely. That will lead to, my last question here. So when we were talking about the dependency of data security and data privacy, and we also spoke about, training the employees. It's a very important factor that an organization should look at. So just want to know from the panel that, how important is it to, train your employees on data security and data privacy? Okay, what kind of role it will play to achieve the business goals? And when I say about employees, I talk about both sales, marketing, and operational employees.
In a way, it should cover each and every employee of the company. Rohan, over to you.
Yeah, I would give you a specific example out here, right? Just to tell you that there are marketing professionals who attend events, for basically our partners or vendors or any kind of events. So basically when they go to these events, there are data which is being shared by these marketing professionals across to the event managers. So what specifically is needs to be considered here is when you educate or train these employees internally, then basically these employees know the importance of their personal data or their sensitive data which is being shared across in all these events, and how is it being processed by these event organizers, right? And where it will be stored, how it will be transferred. So maybe they have the right to ask these questions to the, and as an organization, even the organization should take certain steps on that count. I mean, so training, definitely it is a requirement. I mean, you need to train your employees on all aspects of data privacy, be it the regional legal law or maybe the global laws, whatever it is to that applicable to that entity per se. But again, it will help you when you go into certain events. So this was one of an what you call as example, but there are many other examples where you can say that we engage into a fleet cab drivers basically to drop our employees back home. In that scenarios also we take their personal addresses, personal names, and all this data is being stored by these fleet drivers. So basically when the third party which arranges all this what you call as services, we usually have a data protection agreement signed with them to maintain that kind of decorum or culture of compliance, right, within the organization. And it also mitigates the risk for the employees to that extent. Yeah.
Well said. That's a requirement, and to add to that, you know, the training to all kind of employees. When I said especially the marketing and sales team, because you know today all the customers want the companies or the vendors who abide by the data privacy and have a robust data security system. So if your employees or the sales teams are aware of this, then they can pitch the sales very efficiently. And to that context, even the organization should gear up and, you know, be ahead of times and develop their infrastructure on day-by-day basis, because we are seeing every second day we are getting a new regulations or you know, new SOPs prescribed under the industry to, you know, straighten the data security. So with that said,
Yeah,
you want to
I
add?
would like to add in that recently there have been many additions to the law for data privacy. So recently in China you see a new act passed in 2021. We have one in India also. I mean, catering to this, there is a very global need for the companies to go ahead and put across the processes in place about what would counter to the security measures or global legal framework. I mean, so considering that, I think, and again, I mean, data privacy impact assessment is a requirement for the hour, which every entity needs to do to assess whether they need to get into, because most of the companies nowadays, you need to appoint a data officer, right? I mean, so in place. So that's a requirement under the law. So if you are dealing with significant data, so that's again something which will going ahead if the companies educate their employees and they have good legal team or infosec team in place, they can be able to mitigate this risk to a certain extent. Yeah.
To add on to what Rohan just said, very rightly pointed out, to all the industry experts, leaders, it's my personal recommendation and way of maintaining data for my organization, what I'm doing, you know, since everything is evolving in our digital world, everything, so we should think about, you know, beside training, we should think about creating the awareness, come up with your own ideas, own strategies. You know, your employees should take the ownership of maintaining data that they are managing. That should come under the pillar that I mentioned earlier, data management. With that, I would say training is must, but awareness is mandatory. You cannot leave without that awareness. And that awareness is directly associated with the ownership that I mentioned earlier. Thank you.
Want to add?
Yeah, I want to add about the awareness training. Okay, there is a old story when I'm working as cybersecurity lead, Iqbal. There is a employee come to me and then asking why he cannot transfer to his own OneDrive, but he can transfer the data to company OneDrive. And then I'm laughing, I'm saying, yes, because this is your own OneDrive. You cannot transfer a data company to your own OneDrive, okay? You need to transfer to company OneDrive. See how they don't know the data breach will be happen when they try to transfer the data to their own OneDrive. So awareness and training is very crucial and it's very important, not for marketing, not for finance, but for all the employee. Because to secure the data is employee responsibility. It's very hard for us to secure the data if we didn't get any cooperation from the staff itself. Because there is a silly question when they coming to me and they said, Shariza, I couldn't transfer this, I need this urgent. Before I can transfer this, but now I didn't transfer, even though I already give the heads up, okay, through all the communication channel. From now, you cannot transfer between WhatsApp web or whatever. So this is something that we need to emphasize and we need to take this very, very important.
Yes,
Why?
we agree
Yes.
that Shariza, it's very significant and important for organizations to look for training and awareness. But more than that, implementation is very important. That's the reason why now all the governments across the globe are coming with their own data privacy acts, because this is the need of the hour. So if you don't have a data legislation in your country, there'll be no foreign direct investments. There'll be no foreign companies willing to invest in your company or do the business with your country. So being said that, we are here we have reached to the end of this panel. And thanks all of you for listening to us. If you have any kind of questions, queries, we can meet at lunchtime. Panel will be there. You can come and ask the questions.
Absolutely, and the floor is open for questions. So for those who have a question, yeah, please.
Thank you. Panel discussed about responsibility and duty of employer and employees of organizations and tech giants, how to enhance data protection, data security, and data privacy. My question to this panel is, usually supposedly tech giants are driven by profits. So first they will prioritize their profit, then they will prioritize users' privacy, supposedly. So in that case, do not you think that from global aspect, I mean global leaders and industry participants, industry leaders, they should take initiative, like, we witness some initiatives from local jurisdictions, like European Union. They dropped AI Act last month. Then we got US executive order about AI. Then in Canada, there is a drafting bill for AI. And maybe there is a process in India also. But do not you think that from global organization like United Nations, they should incorporate data privacy as a fundamental human rights in international conventions or treaties to protect globally? Thank you.
Yeah, I'll take that. That's the reason nowadays governments are coming with a, very strict laws. They know a business will never care about the privacy of its customers or its employees. You were talking specifically about the employees. So when you see in GDPR, and when you see in the Data Protection Act of India as well, when you see the CCPI of California, the kind of penalties government is imposing if there is any breach happens, that is huge. So it made organizations to think 2 times before they think of profits. What is the use of making profits when they land up in paying the huge penalties by ignoring the privacy? So nowadays organizations are very conscious, when they make the policies, when they use the data of whether the clients or the employees to meet the requirements. So what I am saying is organizations are not thinking much about the profits, but they are redirecting their thoughts towards the maintenance of the privacy.
Okay, I want to add another point with you. That is, when we log into a website, then we see cookie policies, and they show us cookies, right? And inside the cookie, there are 2 or 3 a long page of terms and conditions. But how many people in the wall are from technical background? Very low rate. And we are, even people who are from higher education background, we are also technologically poor, right? And illiterate. So very rare people, we actually go into detail to read terms and conditions of cookies. What we do actually, to cater my purposes, we just accept cookies. But we don't know what companies do with my privacy. Please explain it.
So I think that question deals basically with the click wrap agreements when you go on a particular site and click to agree to go inside that site, right? I mean, so basically you hereby give your consent to access that site. So you have all authority, and you have with all conscience gone ahead and clicked on that. So I would differ. I mean, I would like to know from you, what do you want to know? If you don't want to go on the site, you can just stray away from it, right? I mean, the companies always have that option given to you.
So the purpose of asking you to accept the cookies is, the kind of information the website owners want to avail from you when they are visiting. So for the basics of a business or a contract, for you to access something, you need to give a consideration. So that is what the consideration the owner of the website is asking. So we are going to collect the data of your interest, what kind of interest you show on internet. So they are going to collect that data from you, not exactly your PII or personal sensitive information, right? So they can enhance their marketing strategies, marketing plans, and they can enhance their advertisements based on the requirement. So they will generate the statistic of the people visiting their website. So they will come to know how many people are really interested in our products, and how many people after visiting our website go to some other competitor's website for this kind of products. So this will help them to collect the marketing data.
On a lighter note, accepting is optional. You can reject too. You have that option.
Any other question?
Do we have any questions for this session? Anyone? No one? All right. Thank you so much for the wonderful session, and thank you to all the key speakers. So can we have a big round of applause for them?
May I ask all the panelists to have a good photograph
On the stage.
on the stage? Oh. Also, to collect the certificate of recognition, first we have Medini. Rohan Medane. Shariza. And our moderator of this panel, Iqbal Tauseef. Big round of applause for all of them, guys.